The Mad Titan gets a mad new release from Beast Kingdom. Here's a look at the Egg Attack Action Avengers Endgame Armored Thanos. The product code for Egg Attack Action Thanos is EAA-079. The figure features newly developed muscle body with Thanos' armor based on the movie Avengers Endgame, up to 27 points of articulation, multiple interchangeable heads and hands, and also includes his double blade accessory. This is certainly a towering titan, but just how towering is Thanos? We'll take the tape measure and put it right to the very top of his helmet, and stopping it right there. According to the readout, you're looking at the figure, the Egg Attack Action of Avengers Endgame Thanos, standing 8.2 inches in height. It's right there, you can see it for yourself. Switching that over to centimeters, post-haste, about 21 centimeters, 20.9 centimeters in height is Thanos here. In fact, how about some size comparisons? You'll see how big he is when I bring in these other two figures. These are both figures that we've just recently had a look at. Also were exclusives from the folks over at Beast Kingdom. This was the astonishing X-Men Cyclops, just in case you guys needed introductions. And over here was the brown costumed Wolverine. You can see how much bigger and bulkier Thanos is than the other two figures on either side of him. The figure does come included with a display stand, although it's not the normal display stand you would recognize. Well, at least the bottom is. The bottom is the same shape, although it's done in clear. The top, you've got Avengers Endgame. On the front of that, on the placard, you've got Thanos. It's not even so much a placard, it's just been printed on the front here of this clear base. But the base shape is exactly the same base that we've gotten with all the other of the Beast Kingdom releases, whether it be the 8 action figures or if it be the Egg Attack action figures. They've used the same base for all of them. Thanos just happens to benefit from getting clear. Oh, he gets perks. What he does also get, though, is a different adjustable stand, a standy cradle in which the figure is going to be sitting on top of. If you remember the other ones, almost sounds like you don't. That's okay. We can bring in an example. Here I happen to have Wolverine's. Yeah, as you can see, it's the exact same shape of stand, although the neck is different. This one would have just had a clip that would have clipped around his waist. Here, on the other hand, with Thanos, he gets something a little bit extra special. Oh, perks. What you can do is just this little strut right here, you just basically put the figure over top of it. There's a couple of different rules of thumb when it comes to displaying the figure. You could use that as a means, or what I think I've done last time when we had a look at the other Thanos was I brought these back just like that, and I actually just rested the figure against this. Although it doesn't give you much clearance, especially for the fact that he does have the skirting, but it's one of the other means to displaying the figure. And again, it's just nice to get the fact that these figures do have adjustable stands. And I'll also even just bring this around just to give us, again, a little bit more extra clearance. Stand-wise, he doesn't really necessarily need something to help stand. Although he does have the option of having a neat-looking stand, and that's probably what I'm going to be more so displaying him with. Just the idea that he has that neat little display bottom to him. As for the actual support, like I said, you really don't necessarily need it. There's just enough there, like I said, to kind of hold him in place. Depending on, again, how you want to adjust it, will certainly dictate how far forward he stands or how far back he stands. I think where I've kind of got it right now, he stands perfectly right in the center here. As for his accessories, he actually comes with a fair bit. It's surprising how much he actually has, and a lot of it mostly is hands. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in a second. He does come with his double-bladed sword that he does have in the film. It's a really neat little simplified version. I say simplified, not necessarily taking away the details that they put into it, but simplified and smaller scaled, I think, more than anything else. It's been done here, painted in silver. You can see that they've added some additional washing to it, kind of just these little streaks of black across the blade. I kind of like that. The center section, the actual handle of the blade, is done here in a dark kind of, it's not quite black. If you tilt it slightly to the side, it almost has a bit of a kind of metallic reflection off of it. And then the actual hilts are done here in the top, the handle sections here are also done in gold. So just a really neat looking release. Just nice to include that, especially if you're going to be getting an armored Thanos. It'd be nice that he actually does come with something like this that we saw in the film. He does have the means to hold it. He does have a couple of gripping hands. Depending on which side you want to display him with, he comes with a pair of gripping hands. The thing about the hands, though, is they're very tight to hold the handle. So I found actually if you put it in slightly on an angle, kind of like this, and then you twist it, kind of twist it into the hand, you can generally 9 times out of 10 get it into the finger grip. But again, it's something that may involve a little bit of heating of the hands on your part, not your hands, Thanos' hands, to kind of get that completely into his grip. I've done it a couple of times, not relying on the heat. There we go. And again, you just kind of wiggle it back and forth till eventually you get in place. It certainly isn't going to be going anywhere. It's not a case where this time around I have to say, oh, sadly, he can't hold his weapon properly. He perfectly fine holds it. In fact, actually, it's quite the opposite. It's rather difficult to get it into his hand. And you can display it by just taking whatever hand you decided to go with. I ended up starting on this side, but I guess I could have done it the other side as well. Just put that into his socket. There we go. And then you can display Thanos with his sword. Just kind of a neat way to display such a cool looking figure. He does also come with the, well, we can kind of look at his other hands first, and then we'll kind of like delve into his interchangeable head. On this side of his torso, the one that has the sword currently in his hand, he comes with variations of his hands. So both of them are kind of the same idea on both sides, even though this one does have the gauntlet as well. Both sides will have gripping hands or fist hands. Will have dynamic hands, and then also just kind of partially relaxed hands. Both of them kind of give a cool looking way to display the figure when you want to get him in a neat dynamic pose. Likely the way I'm going to be displaying it is one hand is going to be likely like this, and maybe the other hand is going to be holding his sword. I may opt just to take the gauntlet off. I'll show you guys how that works in a second. But it is nicely sculpted. Like I said, very cool dynamic hands. Always appreciate when you get stuff like that. And that's pretty much the same on this side as well. You've got the gripping hand, which would have been this hand here. He's got a fist hand that just so happens to be part of a gauntlet. Don't worry, you can actually take that off. And then he's also got just the mirror copies to the hands we just looked at, just on this side over here. The other thing that Thanos does come included with is variations of the Infinity Gauntlet. And again, you can completely remove this if you want. I'll show you guys that in a second. But he does also have a gripping version of the Infinity Gauntlet hand. You can see all the stones. Kind of got a more, I don't want to say tattered, but if you look at it, there's definitely some additional kind of dark black paint that they've added to it. Kind of have given it a more rustic look to it. Kind of like it actually. It's not very clean and pristine as the inside of the hand looks like. And again, that just pops into the supplied socket. Why don't I just show you guys that right now? We're going to go ahead and take the hand out of the sword. Again, I'm just going to twist the handle out, popping out. Easier out than it is going in. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the gauntlet. There's the gauntlet in 2 parts. You've got the top part of the glove, and then you've got the bottom part of the glove. And if you want to change that out, just pop this off the peg. Couldn't be any bit easier. Just pop the new hand in place. And he's got kind of like a slightly more gripping hand or mad conqueror hand. And there's that option. If you want to, though, you can completely forfeit having him displayed with the gauntlet. Just take the hand off. Will involve me holding the forearm here. Take the hand off, then take this off. And I guess you really could do that in one fell swoop, just because really it's pegged into the elbow socket section. And then you're going to go just take his regular hand, just regular Thanos hand, and just replace where you left off. And just plug that into place. Just kind of add a little bit of a wiggle. Not you specifically. If you want to wiggle, go ahead. And you just get that replaced. If you want to have a non-gauntlet wielding Thanos, you can do that. And then certainly if you want to revisit the double sword, you can most definitely put it on that side if you want to. The other thing that Thanos does come included with, now these seem to be carryovers from the Avengers Infinity War Thanos that we also so happen to have a look at on this channel. And it comes with 2 variations of the head. The helmets, in case you are wondering, can be removed on Thanos' head, similar to how Thanos would have removed it from the movie. Just slide it right off. It's not pegged in or anything like that. And you've got just a regular portrait of Thanos. If you want to, say, swap it out to this one right here, it's just a case of splitting the face open. Sorry, Thanos, just bear with me as I take your head off. And we'll just put that right there for a second. Here are the two variations of the heads. Both heads just so happen to also have the trackball eyes. So if you wanted to, you can just move these trackballs back and forth, and that will also dictate how weird or wonky, or if you want, just have him looking right at you. He's looking right at me, Peter. Or you can just move back and forth. You'd be actually looking right at me, Ray, if you want to be accurate to the Ghostbusters quote. But you can move the eyes back and forth, like I said, up and down. I mean, you can give them, you know, Undertaker eyes if you wanted to. So that's really cool. I like that. I think when it comes to displaying the figure, I'll likely use this head portrait myself. I just kind of like the more angrier expressioned Thanos. Excuse me just for a second here. Let me just correct one of the eyes. Something that drives me absolutely bananas is when the eyes are just slightly off from one another. And that's how it looks like just with the trackballs on the insides. So we just go ahead and put this back in place, taking this little ledge, lining up to this little slot. Just put it together like that. Easy peasy, couldn't be any bit easier than that. Sandwich it together, and you've got yourself the other head portrait for Thanos. And just in case you missed it, there it is once again. Gone, but never forgotten. Just put that over there. And then you can go ahead and just put the helmet back on. You can have it with or without helmet. I personally kind of dig the helmet myself. Being that he's so clad in armored gold, I would feel like I would be missing out on an opportunity if I wasn't going to be displaying Thanos with this really neat looking helmet as well. And I think it just finishes off the look rather nicely. The armor is awesome. I just love the look of this, done in blue and gold. And of course some nice detailing, texturing that they've added to the suit. Even like the back section here. There's a whole lot of extra stuff going on here. Things that if you blink, you might miss it. But if you spend some needed time, I mean, you can really see the amount of detailing that Beast Kingdom put into this piece. Even like the skirting has its own little textured patterns done in there. The washing of the skirt gets a little dirtier versus the contrast of the top section of his torso. But overall, I'm just really happy with how this one turned out. It's one of those big beefy boys that substantially feels heavier in your hand than some of the others that we've had a look at before. The armor is not removable, so just in case you are wondering, can you actually take this armor off? Even though the armor itself feels like it's a soft plastic, it doesn't seem to have the means to take this off. And even if you were to take it off, you wouldn't have Thanos' regular outfit underneath that. That's why they did release that first one that we had a look at on this channel. Check that out. For this guy's articulation, though, his head rotates all the way around. A good sufficient amount of articulation when it's all said and done. The head moves up, the head moves down, and it can also rock back and forth. He does have an upper torso ball joint, despite for the fact that he has so much size happening in the upper torso. You can quite still freely move his torso all the way around. It doesn't seem restricted at all. It's good, actually, that they did keep this as a separate piece, with the lower skirt being a separate piece as well. The arms move forward, and they move back, they move out. He does also have, like, I want to say the similar style of articulation as the smaller figures that we had to look at, the Wolverine and the Cyclops, just in case you forgot about those, where the shoulder actually has a socket. You see that socket right there, where the ball joint sits inside of that? That actually does shift on its own as well. It doesn't get as much the effect because Thanos is such a bigger and bulkier torso, but he still has really the same type of articulation as the smaller figures that we had to look at. His forearms can swivel back and forth. They hinge up and down. A little bit of squeak, but that's okay. That does mean that at least these joints are nice and tight. The hands rotate all the way around, and you can also hinge them back and forth. Moving our focus down to his torso, his lower half of his torso. His legs split out to about there. You can move the legs forward. You can move the legs back. He has a swivel on the top cut of the thigh, basically where it connects to that ball joint. Has a hinge in the knee, which also allows that knee to rotate, the lower calf rotate. And the feet move up and down. There's a rock back and forth. And he also does have toe articulation. Thanos has toe articulation. I do really like this guy quite a bit. From what I remember, I don't think there's been a lot of Avengers Infinity War, or for that matter, there has been a lot of Avengers Endgame figures produced by Beast Kingdom in this really cool egg attack styling. I really love it, and I would love to see what they've done now with Thanos, especially the armored version of Thanos. I'd love to see what they could do with a Captain America or an Iron Man if they haven't already made one. I've mentioned this in reviews in the past, that the egg attack action figures may not be everybody's thing. Some people may gravitate a little bit more towards realistic looking collectibles, and that's fine and good. I have many realistic looking collectibles in my collection, but every once in a while I'd like the joy and just the fun that comes from these more super deformed figures that Beast Kingdom produce. Despite for their size being a little smaller, despite for their proportions being a little outrageous, of course Thanos has a big giant head and small legs, need I say more. He does have a lot of detailing to him, and sometimes you miss the fact, because they are more cutesier versions of these characters, that there are still companies that are putting a lot of detail in these, and hopefully reviews like this can show you guys the amount of detail and care that they put into it, even if he is a more cutesier version of Thanos. Just don't tell him that. The added bonus is the fact that he does come with the Infinity Gauntlet, which you can remove, which I've removed here in final looks, and ultimately probably just going to display him without the Infinity Gauntlet. And he also has the double-bladed sword, which is a nice touch and bonus for displaying the figure. Like I said, there's a whole lot going on right with this guy. With over 27 points of articulation, you'd be surprised with how many different poses you can get the Mad Titan actually in. If you did benefit from getting the Avengers Infinity War version of Thanos, or if you didn't check that one out, feel free to go and have a look at my review of him. Of the two, I think I kind of like this one a little bit more. There's a lot more extra stuff going on with him. Being for the fact that, of course, he has as much armor now on him, I think just kind of adds the overall appeal of what was already a cool-looking figure to start off with. If you did manage to pick up this one for yourself, the product code once again is EAA079. Let me know down below what you guys think of the armored Thanos. If you didn't pick it up based on this review, what do you think of this figure, and if it's something that you would pick up for yourself? If you guys want to go back and also have a look at some of my other Beast Kingdom reviews, should be a whole ton of them actually sitting on a Beast Kingdom playlist, so feel free to check that out and watch at your viewing pleasure. If you are new to this channel, or let's say you're a long-time viewer, maybe never got around to it, that's okay. It happens to the best of us. Hit that subscribe button and swing next door. Turn on that bell notification so that when future videos are coming onto this channel, you'll never miss out. And stay tuned, because we're going to have a bunch of other cool collectibles coming your way. That's a whole lot of C's. I know what they are. You don't know what they are. You just have to stay tuned. Oh, you're such a tease. I'm so shy. Stay tuned, guys, because like I said, there's going to be a whole lot of stuff coming your way. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.